Tonight we have our good friend Paul, who is our editor, also a huge film fan and pro wrestling guru. And in just a minute, we're going to have Joe Abel, who is a wrestling promoter here in Florida, who does wrestling shows, and all proceeds go to the American Cancer Society. So I think that's really cool. Going to bring him up in the stream. He can tell us his little. See here. There we
Hello,
go.
everybody.
How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
All right. Yeah, we're just working our little magic here. We have different ways we can have the video up. So we have everybody.
Hey, we're staying safe and we're staying our 6 feet 6 feet distance.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on, Joe. And I just got to say, doing wrestling shows where you put all 100% proceeds towards something like the American Cancer Society is awesome.
I appreciate that. That's very kind of you to say. And I have a personal it's a personal mission of mine to raise money for the American Cancer Society. I lost my mother, my father, my aunt, my uncle, and my grandmother all to cancer. And 6 years ago, my wife got breast cancer and melanoma. And that's when I decided to do the shows. And then 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with lymphoma. So cancer has hit my family very hard. And I made it a mission to raise as much money for the American Cancer Society as I possibly can.
Oh man, that's heartbreaking to hear, like that so much has been in your family with cancer. But it's a good thing that you're doing. So how did the whole wrestling world connect with you? Like, when did it start?
Well, like everybody else, I grew up watching wrestling when I was a small child. And then I used to draw. I used to collect wrestling magazines and I used to draw the centerfold in the middle. And I'd go down to the arena and the Civic Center and take my art book and get the wrestlers to sign my pictures that I drew. And my dad owned a sporting goods store, and I got one of my artwork silk screened on a T-shirt, and it was a Sergeant Slaughter T-shirt. And I'm standing outside the arena when I was 16 years old, and a guy comes up to me and he says, "That's a nice T-shirt. Where'd you get it?" And I told him I designed it, and he said, "Come with me." And I went with the guy, and walking, I'm thinking to myself, what did I do wrong? Or what's this guy's deal? I'm 16 years old. What's this guy's deal? So he takes me inside the garage and he tells me he's Sergeant Slaughter's business manager. And I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. And as we're talking, the garage door opens up. In comes this big, long camouflage limousine. Of course, everybody knows who's in it. And out steps Sergeant Slaughter and Rick Martel. And they made me promise selling their T-shirts without their permission. And it was the furthest thing from my mind. I'm just a wrestling fan and a fan of Sergeant Slaughter's. And from there, I designed a Road Warrior jacket. And same thing, I saw them come up to the arena, and I went out and I said, can you sign my art book for me? And when they signed my art book, I turned around and I showed them the jacket that I had designed for them. And they liked it so much, they ordered 3. As I was delivering their 3, I hear, "Where's ours?" And I turn around, it's Jim Cornette and the Midnight Express. They wanted jackets. So it kind of snowballed from there. And I got to hang out with them and know them a little bit and learn their lifestyle. And I was always too small to be a wrestler, but I like to run my mouth. And I said, I could be a manager. So I went to a wrestling school in Maryland, and got into the business and ended up doing shows with those guys. And the rest is history.
Oh, that's really cool. Like Sergeant Slaughter, growing up in the '80s, I loved, of course, professional wrestling, but I also loved GI Joe, and so when he showed up on GI Joe, it was like really awesome. He was one of my
Yeah,
favorites in the '80s.
that's what you call living the gimmick,
Right. Let's see here. I'm gonna unmute Paul. Hey, Paul.
You have everybody on at the same time.
Yeah, everybody's on at the same time. Paul, do you have any questions here, or like, do you want to ask something?
Oh no, I'm just enamored with like how he designed all that and how just the stories. I really don't have any questions. I'm just very, very much enamored with the with that story because I also said the same thing with Sergeant Slaughter and GI Joe and the fact that he turned evil and how evil he turned with the character in the '90s. Just it floored me because of that the hero he played.
The Iranian sympathizer.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was amazing to see like that they could do that. That's kind of where I thought, that's where the storylines to me came in, where I'm like, this is a pretty good story, and it was very, I don't know, it was very topical, obviously at the time, and amazing they chose him as the villain to fight off Hogan and be the United States versus Iraq, and he chose him to be the Iraqi sympathizer. So I just thought that was kind of cool. So I really have no questions. I just like that story was pretty cool.
Two things a wrestling fan probably never thought they'd ever see. That was Sergeant Slaughter turn and go with the Iranians,
Yep.
and Hulk Hogan turning heel and going with NWO.
Yep.
Yeah, the whole Hogan NWO thing, that was probably the biggest shock in professional wrestling at that time.
It wasn't even supposed to be Hogan at the time. They were talking about Sting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Supposed to be Sting. Yeah. His plane didn't land in time, or something happened where he just didn't get there, and they're like, "All right, Hogan, you go out there." So
yeah, it's funny how things turn out,
Yep.
and everybody ended up loving the NWO. Go figure.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I actually have a book. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. Go ahead, Paul.
That's all right. But I was just gonna say, as we were talking about that, there was an angle early on in the NWO where a masked man came out with a baseball bat, and the rumors, because Shawn Michaels was having issues with WWF at the time, that was supposed to be Shawn Michaels, and that fell through because he ended up re-signing with WWF at the time. But yeah, that whole Hogan thing was yeah, I remember seeing all that trash being thrown into the ring.
Yeah, Mean Gene was scared for his life.
Yeah. All right, so we have you up learning, the ropes and stuff, how things go in Maryland. So where does it go from there?
I went from Maryland to Pennsylvania to Virginia to West Virginia. Then I moved to Florida and worked Georgia and Florida for a little bit. And now I don't even do any work in the ring except for at my show. So after 27 years, I have nothing left, and I'm getting older. I'm 54 now, and all those bumps has taken its toll on me. My body is beat up. My brain's a little fried. But I'm just happy doing the one show that I run every year, and I try to make it the best and most entertaining show possible.
That's great. Now, before we touch on the charity show, you said that you've mentioned names like the Legion of Doom and James Cornette. Now, you coming up through the business, we've talked about it a little bit over the phone today. Can you let our audience know just some of the people that you've learned the business from?
Yeah, Maryland. When I was in Maryland, they used to bring half of ECW's locker room down to our show because Ian and Axel Rotten were big mainstays in Maryland. That's where they were based out of. In fact, that's one of my trainers. Axel Rotten was one of my trainers, and Gilberg, Dwayne Gill, was another trainer of mine. And so we used to have ECW, half of ECW's locker room come down and do shows with us. So I got to work against Paul Heyman, and he taught me a lot. And at times we'd bring other guys who just left the WWE and, in to do shows with us. And I've done shows with just about everybody who you're always going to learn.
Yeah. All right. We had a little bit of interference there on your end. Are you still connected now? Oh, I think we might have lost Joe.
Yep, he's frozen.
Yeah, I can hear you. There. Are you
Yeah,
there?
I'm here, Joe.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. I know, since everybody's at home, internet and cell phones and like Netflix and all of them have been, overloaded because everybody's got nothing to do.
Nothing else to do.
Well, when everybody would be at.
Unlike some of us who have to come out and work, we don't stop even for coronavirus.
That's right. You did tell me you run security at a golf course,
Correct.
or
I
is
do
it like a
there.
a community, right?
Yeah, it's a community, a bunch of houses here, and the golf course is here, and there's 7 pools that I got to watch over.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sleeping either because now a brick and mortar teacher has to learn how to be a virtual one. So this was not a very vacation.
How is a golf course essential? How is that an essential worker?
Exactly. But we're security, so people come to us in all different situations.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, are golf courses actually still open? Because people are pretty much distanced from each other anyways?
The pools are closed, the basketball courts closed, the pickleball courts closed, tennis courts are closed, but you can golf. Go figure.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, we were talking about, you said you learned some things from, Heyman and the ECW guys.
And Jim Cornette himself. I got to work against, I think I'm one of the few indie guys that can honestly say they got to work against Paul Heyman and Jim Cornette in their time.
Did you ever get hit with the tennis racket?
4 or 5 times. And believe me, it hurt. One show he hit me, and I tried to climb over the barriers to get away from him, and he hit me like 2 or 3 more times, and I was begging him to stop hitting me. That's how much it hurt.
Oh.
But I tell a nice little story. I'm actually, a book's getting ready to come out in about 3 or 4 months. It's called Squared Circle, Full Circle. I'm Joe Cool and You're Not. And it tells a lot of stories, inside stories of, what we're talking about today. And it's a good read. It's a good read.
That's cool. So does that go from?
I have to add a link.
Yeah, I'll have to add a link. Is that going to be available like on Amazon? And
it's going to be available on Amazon, and it's through Sunbury Publishing Company.
Oh, okay. So we can go to like Books A Million and Barnes and Nobles and be able to get it.
Hopefully, it'll be in all those stores, and as soon as I know, because it's getting it's being published now. So as soon as I have a release date, I'll get back to you guys and I'll give you a link and wherever you can find it, I'll give you all that information.
Yeah. So going back to learning from greats like Jim Cornette and Paul Heyman, what kind of things did you learn from? I mean, what kind of things did Paul teach you about the business compared to James?
Well, you have to remember, my learning, first started from Axel Rotten. Axel had been in ECW. He was in, Lawler's territory, USWA. So he was the first person to really sit me down and say, this is how you be a manager. People are under the conception that you just go out there as a manager and run your mouth and cheat. And that's not true. You have to be at certain places at certain times. You can't do certain things at certain times. You don't want to take all the attention away from what's going on in the match. And Axel actually taught me all that stuff. Jim Cornette, he and Paul Heyman, they had both been around for a long time, and they taught me where to be, how to act, and what not to do to take away the attention from what's going on in the ring. So just hanging around those guys, you're going to learn. And it was funny because when I was doing jackets, I got a phone call from a friend of mine, and they said, this guy, Paul Heyman, he wants you to do a jacket. He's getting ready to become a manager, and he wants you to do a jacket for him. And I called Paul, and he said, yeah, I'm a photographer for a wrestling magazine right now, but I'm getting ready to make my wrestling debut. Can you do a jacket for me? So I knew Paul before he was even in the business.
Okay, so this is like before he went to, because he was in WCW first.
Actually, he was in Florida. He was in the Florida wrestling scene for a little bit. Then he went down to he went down to Jerry Lawler's federation for a little bit too.
Okay. Yeah, because
And
when
then
I first saw of Paul was when he was, of course, involved with I think it was
Midnight
Kevin.
Express versus Midnight Express.
Well, that and he was a lot of the Kevin Sullivan stuff.
Yeah, that was Florida. He was in Florida doing that stuff. But he made his debut in New York, and he managed Bam Bam Bigelow.
Bam Bam Bigelow. So what time frame is this that you in this point of your life? Like what years is this?
When I did jackets, it was the mid to late 80s. I got into the wrestling business in 91, in between 91 and 92. And I think within the first 3 or 4 months is when they brought Paul Heyman in to work against me. And Paul had remembered me from doing, the jackets and stuff. So we had quite a few laughs. It was a lot of fun.
I was gonna ask, have you ever met Paul Ellering?
Yeah, I did. Well, when I did the jackets for the Road Warriors, Paul used to wear the jacket all the time. If you ever see a video there's a weightlifting video of the Powers of Pain against the Legion of Doom. They're doing weightlifting. Paul's wearing the jacket that I designed for him in that video.
All right, after this, I know what I'm doing.
It's a white jacket with red and white. It's a white jacket with red and white cuffs. It's funny because when I did the Midnight Express jacket, I did the same exact jacket for the Midnight Express. It was a white jacket with red and white cuffs. So they both had the same colored jacket on, except for Bobby wanted a pink one, so I ended up having to go back and do a pink one for Bobby.
Good old beautiful Bobby.
Yeah, super nice guy. Underrated as a worker. One of the best workers ever.
Yeah, I mean, even towards like the end there when he was in WCW, doing all the stuff. I mean, uh, him and Regal had some great matches.
Yeah, yeah. Bobby could work with anybody and have a great match. Like I said, all those guys are super nice guys. You know, it's
Yeah.
funny because my connection with the Road Warriors. It went from just being a fan to design a jacket, and then after 3, I brought Road Warrior and into me. So we have a long historic past, him and I.
Yeah, Road Warriors were one of my favorite tag teams.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah, I
They were
was
good.
very heartbroken when Hawk passed away.
I did a show with Hawk probably 6 or 7 months before he passed away, and I hadn't seen him in many years, and I took him some art that I did, and I asked him to sign it, and I told him, I said, our paths have crossed, 20 years ago. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, I did it for you guys when I lived in Baltimore. And he said, was it a white jacket with red and white cuffs? He had remembered 20 years prior about the jacket, and that just blew my mind. So this year, I got to tell you about fighting for a cure this year. Last year, let me jump back here. Last year we
All
had
right.
the Rocks, had Rocky Johnson, who was a great wrestler in the 80s himself. I had him, and I had Mick Foley, and I did the Rock and Sock Connection 2.0. And great turnout for last year, 150 people last year. So this year, Mick Foley volunteered to come back again. I have Mick Foley coming back. I have King Haku, or Meng, whatever you want to call him. I have Bushwhacker Luke, and I have Lanny Paco, my brother.
Yeah, those guys definitely love charity. I mean, 'cause they're always posting about charity. Did we lose Joe again?
He's frozen.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Mick, when are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, Mick, volunteered to come back to do this year's show, and that just really touched my heart. Mick is one of the most charitable guys I've ever met in my life. We did shows, like I said, when I worked in Maryland, they brought Mick in a few times, and back then I didn't have the opportunity to really sit and talk with him or anything. We'd pass in the hallway or the locker room and say hi to each other, but I got to know him over the past couple years, and super nice guy. He did the foreword to my book, and like I said, once he volunteered to come back to this year's Fighting for a Cure show, that just really touched my heart.
Is his daughter Noelle involved in these show as well?
I wish he would bring her. I think a lot of the male fans would come out to see her, but no, it's just him. And he comes out and he does meet and greets. And last year he ran Mr. Sacco down somebody's throat and made the save for me. I was getting beat up by somebody, and he he ran down and made the save for me. So it was a feel-good moment.
So since you've been doing these charity events, how much money have you raised?
We've raised $40,000 for the American Cancer Society in 6 shows, and we're hoping to raise another. I don't like putting a figure on it, because if we don't make that figure, I feel bad. Last year we raised $20,000 in one night, and hopefully this year we'll raise another 20.
And you do your show, is it always the same time every year?
Yeah, it's always in July. For the past, I think three shows, it's been July. It was August, and then I changed it over to July.
Nice. So you do do you have the meet and greets before or after the show? How do you set up your show?
Yep, meet and greets are for an hour before the show, and then usually during intermission, the superstars will get in the ring, and if you want to get a picture with the superstar in the ring, you can do that. And it's really a good show. It's really entertaining and fun. And at the end of the night, we present a check to the American Cancer Society right then and there.
That's awesome. And so with a show like
So if you go on Facebook, I was going to say, if you go on Facebook, on my page on Facebook, Fighting for a Cure, there's a picture on there somewhere of us holding a big, huge check, and we're presenting it to the American Cancer Society, and Mick Foley is helping us present the check.
I love Mick Foley. I've always loved Mick Foley. Such a great human being.
Don't get me started.
Don't get you started.
Yes, he is.
I will talk about it.
So
He does a lot of charity. He does a lot of charity work. He did stuff for SPCA and he's one of the few go to all. He's such a good guy.
So do you grab I guess you send out the bat signal and independent wrestlers across the state, or is they
now
with the booking?
Now it's to a point. It's to a point whenever a wrestler here is fighting for a cure, I always get a Facebook message. Can I be on the show? Can I be on the show? And I try to stick to the local guys. They all volunteer to do the show. They don't get paid. They know the calls that it's going to, and they're all come out and donate their time on television.
Uh-oh. Hey Joe, we're losing you here. Hey Joe, you keep breaking up. Uh-oh. He's frozen now. I'm gonna take him down for right now.
How is it,
Paul?
that
How you doing?
how is it that my connection in Ohio to you guys is better than his Florida connection to you guys in Florida? That's weird.
Well, he's running off of his cell phone. Are you doing a laptop?
Yeah, that's true. It was interesting. I was gonna, before he jumped into his information about the Fighting for a Cure, I was wondering, because he was talking about he was being beaten by Jim Cornette. I was wondering if he was the heel or if he was a face manager and what kind of gimmick he had. So hopefully if he pops back in or if he hears this, he could probably answer that, because I was just interested, because if he was just starting out with Jim Cornette and with Paul Heyman even, I mean, Heyman was the businessman who had the cell phone, so that was his gimmick. So I wondered what his was to kind of counteract that, and if he was a heel too, because obviously he said he was beaten up by Jim Cornette. So that was kind of neat. So I was writing stuff down.
Let me bring him back. Hey Joe, I'm gonna bring you back up. Let's see here. I think we got Joe back.
I heard the question.
Oh, okay.
I heard the question. Just to let you know, I got hit with the cell phone too.
Nice. Okay, good.
Yeah,
the big Zach Morris one.
yeah, exactly. And I was scared
Nice.
to.
That
I
a
was
big
more
old break.
afraid. I was more afraid of getting hit with the cell phone than I was the tennis racket because I had seen him break the cell phone over people's heads, and
Yeah.
I didn't want to get hurt. But he's
Right.
told me how he was going to do it, and it was fine, and it came off great.
As a mom
But
having been hit by
was
a tennis
the
racket and a cell
question?
phone, I think I take the tennis racket.
That's funny. I saw that smirk on somebody's
Yeah.
somebody over there. When I said Zach Morris's phone, you guys knew that exactly what I was saying. That's the only reason I knew. Like that's how it is. The big
Yeah,
plastic ones.
We are seriously
Yeah,
children of the
yeah,
80s.
and I
Yep.
think that's probably where Paul got it. That's probably where Paul got it from. The idea.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So let's get to this year's Fighting for a Cure. And you said, you don't want to put a number, but you're hoping to get another 20,000.
Correct.
What matches have lined up so far?
Well, like I said, there are a lot of local guys, independent guys. The big stars are going to just be doing meet and greets. But I have got all these guys you probably aren't going to know. Zach Monstar going against Leo Knox. We got Boswell facing Lord McHaggis. He's a guy, comes out playing the bagpipes. He's on paper, but not as good. I hate to tell him that, but not as good. In the main event, we have Johnny Rudo fighting for championship belt against Abrams. And I run a thing called the Bacchus Memorial Cup Battle. Rex Bacchus was a guy who wrestled and he passed away from cancer last year. So I changed the name of the battle royal from the American Memorial Cup to Rex Bacchus Memorial.
Uh-oh.
Terrible connection.
Hey, Joe,
I can
we
hear
have
you guys.
yeah,
Yeah,
on your end coming through to us, it's a bad connection.
I blame it on Corona.
But
Blame everything on Corona.
I'm gonna blame it on Corona.
All right, Paul, do you want
Sorry.
to add something to this?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. What into what?
this guy.
Oh man, everyone's breaking up now.
Here, what I'll do is I will. Okay, I'll mute Joe so
Okay.
if you want to ask him something, and then I will unmute him so he can talk.
I'm just actually right now on Facebook right now looking at it says Fighting for a Cure 7 and it looks like it's July 26, 2020. And I'm looking at some of the competitors and I'm seeing a lot of wow, this looks good. I like this stuff. Oh wow. Okay. So it's too bad I'm not in your area. So like you said with who right now would you like if you were to have a wish list as to who you'd like to have work this event? Is there somebody that you would haven't? Obviously, you're reaching for the stars, possibly with current guys. But is there somebody that you've tried to get maybe that just hasn't been able to do this, and you wanted them to maybe come and do a Fighting for the Cure? Or is there a wish list that you have, maybe a top 3 or 4 that you want to have tried to get and then haven't gotten yet?
Do meet and greets or actual wrestlers that still wrestle?
I would say either one.
I'll be totally honest with you. This year I had a crazy idea to throw a number out to Hulk Hogan. So I contacted his beach shop because they have a beach shop here and he's local. And I threw out a number, and the manager of the beach shop replied to me, and he bashed the American Cancer Society. And it really soured me. I mean, I asked him, I said, I wonder if Hulk Hogan feels the same way. And so I had that crazy idea, and I reached out to
Wow.
I reached out to Hall and Nash. I tried to get them, and just never got a response. Kevin Nash told me to direct message him. I direct messaged him, and he never responded. So you can't. I don't. There's always going to be somebody that you can't get, or just doesn't want to do it. And I'm thankful for the ones that do want to do it. The guys that I have coming. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
I was going to suggest Steve Borden, which we all know as Sting. He's very charitable. I don't know if you have connections with him, but I would try to reach out to him. He loves doing this stuff.
Yeah, now, I try to use all these local guys because you don't have to pay for airfare, and a lot of times you don't have to pay for a hotel for them. And Lanny and Haku and Luke, they're all local. So I got a good deal with those three, and Mick is doing it on his own, flying out here on his own. And I really lucked out this year.
So what kinds of things do you have to go through if you did want to reach out to someone who was current and actually is a survivor?
Putting
all my eggs in a basket here.
No. I'll tell you a story. Every year I go on Twitter, and once I have the poster, I ask famous people to retweet it, and a lot of times they will. Brutus Beefcake has done it. Chris Jericho has done it. Hacksaw Jim Duggan used to do it. Mick Foley always did it. And this year I reached out to Hacksaw Jim Duggan because he's a cancer survivor. And for whatever reason, he's another one. He wouldn't get back to me. And at first I was really angry about it. And then I decided I can't get angry about it because I don't know what's going on in their personal life. I don't know what they have going on. Everything doesn't revolve around this show. It does for me. I put 11 months of my life pretty much on hold to do this show. I put the show together. I'm the one who goes out. I do all the advertising. I come on the television shows. I go on the radio shows. I come on podcast shows. I'm the one. I go out and hang posters. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but this is what I go through every year.
Do you get a lot of support from your local radio stations and TV stations for this?
Yeah, SNN, it's a local station here. They've had me on for the past 3 years. And in fact, last year, Jerry Springer did a video for me, and they put it there and ran it on their television show every month, and that helped out so much. I'm so appreciative of it. And a station in Tampa, 102.5 Bone, has me on every year to talk about the show. So, and every bit helps,
Uh-oh. I think we're losing Joe again.
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. It's just you keep breaking up,
You
and we're
can
like,
hear
no.
us, but we can't understand anything you say.
I'm still here.
Wow. So I just I'm lost in this whole thing here. This is really cool.
I don't know. I always spend all my time like when we're sitting here listening to the stories, and I act like I don't have anything important or interesting to say, but I'm listening at how much people put out there for something that they really love. And we do get sad when I think when we feel like people don't respond or whatever, but it's a good attitude to have that we don't know what's going on in their personal lives because we only see what they want us to see. And
Exactly.
so it's hard to manage that, but also something that's as huge as this is. And I know that there have been recent things that have been promoted on social media and other news outlets and websites and stuff that have said certain things about certain companies that may or may not be true. And so I think sometimes people take that for face value and they don't dive deeper into the actual logistics of stuff,
It's
where
funny.
they're
I'll tell you a funny story. Mick Foley said this in the book. He said that he gets asked to do so many charities, and he's done a lot of charities. And when it came time for the charity to present the money, um, let's just say they didn't give all the money that should have gone to the charity to the charity. They would rip the charity off, and that's what he likes about me so much. That when I say 100% of the donations go to the charity, 100%. I don't profit in any way. The wrestlers don't get paid. It all goes to the American Cancer Society.
How big of a crowd do you get?
We have probably about 400 to 500 people. It's a small crowd, but with the meet and greets and the ticket sales and all that, and I'm a part of a group called Kegs for a Cure. What they do is it's a beer community, and they go around to different breweries, and they get them to brew a special beer and sell it, and whatever money they make off the keg of beer, it all comes to Fighting for a Cure. So that gets mixed in with the money that we give to the American Cancer Society at the end of the night.
That's cool. I saw when you said beer, I saw that smile on Paul's face there.
He's shaking his head. No, you're not a beer guy, Paul.
No, not really. No, I just thought that was a very, very clever idea.
Yeah, my ring announcer, Miguel Hito, after the third Fighting for a Cure, he came up to me and he said, I do this thing with the beer community. And he told me about what they do. He said, we want to partner up with you. And it was a no-brainer. And they've helped me, every year from the third one on. And without them, Fighting for a Cure wouldn't be half as successful as it's been. So, Kegs for a Cure, amazing people.
That's awesome.
I think maybe more people need to speak to the fact that that money does go that 100% does go the the actual charity, because I think a lot of times people are concerned that someone will profit from whatever they're donating, so they don't donate as much as they normally would. And so, I think it's good that Mick Foley's like, hey, if you're giving 100%, 100% means 100%. I'll keep on doing it because I know that this is happening. And so if everybody did that, if he did a shout out to, the guys and said, hey, it really does go there, maybe they would call back. Like, it always kind of upsets me. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
We've had-
we are the reason you're still relevant.
We've had,
like,
yeah, you're right. You're 100% correct, and you hit the nail right on the head. You know, we're the ones that keep these guys relevant. You know, we had Tugboat at one of our shows, two of our shows, and he was another one that was very gracious. You know, coming out and being part of the show.
Yeah, I'm actually friends with Fred on Facebook. Him and his wife, they're really awesome.
The first fighting for a cure show, I got an email from somebody, and she asked me if she could come and help. And that first-
Uh-oh.
again. It happens every time he freezes like that.
Oh, Paul, you're
We
hilarious.
needed that.
Yeah, as he's coming back, I just want to when the point that he made about Hogan not accepting it, not doing that, it's just it's amazing how much of a fan we were growing up of him and his values and the say your prayers, say, you know, eat your vitamins, you know, believe in Hulkamania now. And then he comes out with these rants about, you know, being these racist remarks, and then him just not being who he is, and other people coming out saying these just outlandish things about how he's not the person you see on TV and how he's portrayed now. And you just kind of have to shake your head. It's like, why do something like, I don't know why do something like that is something that would be right for this one, but it's like, yeah, it's like, I don't know, just shocking to me how different he is now back to when I was like 5 or 6, when I was growing up with him and him being my favorite wrestler. And that's who got me into it was watching his matches. But now seeing him and things that he's done and said, it's mind blowing how the tables have turned on him, and how, I don't know if that was partly why he decided to do the whole heel turn thing, like he got stale, or if that's really his personality that has finally come out and that's really him. I mean, I just think it's interesting. And then him coming back to the WWE, and then people not forgiving him about what he did and what he said. And just people are still not really back on board, even though he's trying to try to right the wrongs. But I kind of almost feel like it's too late. But it's just very interesting to see how different he is from when I was, you know, younger, starting out watching wrestling, to now. It's very odd.
That I think, you know, and that was the other thing. Like, I tell this story all the time to Brian, but like I have a better understanding of, like, now as an adult, that everybody has a bad day, and that just because you're famous doesn't mean you don't have crap that happens to you. And I get that. But I also know that when I was a kid and I looked up to somebody and I was so excited that I was either standing in front of them or watching them on TV or whatever it was, that it was really important for me to have that, like, for it to be held up, you know. And so I expected them to believe that. I expected them to be that way. I expected them to be the kind of person that would want to reach out and meet their fans and have fun and be excited that you were there. And when I was, because my first boyfriend was a huge wrestling fan. Like, I knew who people were because it was pop culture, but I wasn't involved until probably 99. And so even in 99, we were doing all the going back, I don't know. So the onset of Edge. So that whenever that was, like, that was the beginning of what I started watching. You know, so that part of the Attitude Era was like when I started cutting my teeth and then going back and watching some of the older stuff. And so he was a huge Bret Hart fan. And he was like, this will be great. And so we drove all the way to Saginaw to whatever the stupid bookstore. It was a media store. It was a bookstore / CD movie, all that crap. And it was like
Was
a
it Borders?
I think like early to like
Camelot music, FYE.
I don't know something, but it was an FYE. It was like it's on its own, and I can't remember. Mike might be able to remember, but you might know if I said something, but I can't remember what it was. We stood in this line that took forever, and it was around the building, and it was just nonsense. And I know, like by the time we got up there, like when his book came out, I have a signed copy of the book somewhere. See how important this is to me now, because I don't even know where the signed copy of the book is. But we walked up, and Brian gave his spiel about how, or not Brian, Mike. It's because apparently I date the same person, and they just have a different name because essentially they're the same person.
Well, they both like wrestling, so, you know, you go with them.
They both like wrestling. They both like comic books. I'm screwed. Like I dated the same person. So, what was I saying? Oh, so we get up there, and I'm not a huge fan, but I'm basically there because I know who the dude is, and I'm like, that'd be cool to meet him, and whatever. And we hand him his books, and Mike talks all about how he's excited about meeting him and how he's watched him forever, and he's like, yeah, okay. Handed him his book, and I was like, I stood in a 2.5 hour long line for that. For that. And I'm like, that is, I know that a bad day, whatever shit happened, I don't care. Your job was to be on. So my job, like I don't clock in, but I get there. And from the time I walk through the door to the time I leave, I have to be on.
Right.
So I have to be leaving all my troubles at the door and dealing with everybody else's troubles, whether it be a colleague, a coworker, a coaching situation, students, it doesn't matter. Like I have to be on. And my professional well-being as a teacher and as a human, because those two things are intertwined, revolves all around those instances where they have my attention, or I'm supposed to give attention to them. So you can't tell me that you blocked this out with a publicist to sell your book and you couldn't be on
Right.
for that amount of time. Leave your carriers at the door, make it happen. That is your job as somebody that was a star, as somebody who was, famous or is still famous, because people still have him on shows and stuff, and he's inducted in the Hall of Fame and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it is your job. And if they hired you or brought you out or whatever, in some way, shape, or form, they paid you. So when I walk in at 8:00 and I have a student crisis and a parent that needs me and a teacher who's freaking out about who knows what, if I fall apart and I can't be on to help them, then what does that say about me? It makes me less reliable in their eyes later on. So when you leave with that attitude about somebody, it takes one person to say something bad before everybody jumps on that bandwagon and says, well, you're kind of a douche, like nobody wants to be around you. And so unless you can validate that it's not the truth, I mean, I have not met anybody that can validate the truth. Because everybody who said that is kind of blasé about everything. I've never met anybody who was like, he's the greatest guy on the planet. No, I've never done that. Never. But we went to same match. How many years ago? Same thing. Right after pay-per-view was after Elimination Chamber?
Oh, in Vegas, that's right.
So we're standing outside the UNLV, was that UNLV, the what's that thing called? Oh my God, we haven't been gone that long. I can't even remember. Anyways, so we're standing out around the back, and we've got Shane, and Shane's like 5. And he is standing there, and he's like waving to all the guys, and a lot of them are getting ready to get in their car, and they're driving to wherever they need to go. Some of them are going home, and some of them are driving to the next gig or whatever. So they're all putting their stuff in. And if they had time, they came over to the fence and they waved and they said, hey, and everything. John Cena walked that entire fence. The entire fence. High-fived and fist bumped every person who put their hand up.
Mm-hmm.
Every single person. Now, he didn't stop and talk and he didn't sign anything, but he high-fived and hand bumped every person and fist bumped every person down that whole stretch of fence.
Yep.
He didn't get paid for that. He was on his way to the next show, but he made the time to do it. Who's going to remember that? The next person who says, well, John Cena was this, and you can validate the fact that he isn't like that. I've not met a single person who's met Bret Hart that could say that he isn't a douche. Sorry for my language, but anyways. I'm not on as a my teacher hat is not on. So my filter is off.
No, that makes sense. I mean, the area that we have for wrestling is it's honestly right in front of the stadium where the parking is, and the Q or whatever it's called now, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, whatever. We only can see them driving in and out. And there's actually been some time where I think there was one where I had my son with me for the first time, and Brock Lesnar came back, like surprised everybody and came back, and no one knew he was going to be there. But excuse me, leaving, seeing all the cars, all the wrestlers, and seeing who's in what car was kind of fun. Lesnar was in a car that had tinted windows, but you could tell his silhouette, the hair with the big blockhead basically. And Heyman was sitting right next to him, and I just turned to my son. I go, Brock, like that, just because I know he didn't want it. He doesn't like people. He hates people. So I just went, hey, Brock. And my son was like, hi, Brock. And he actually went like this, and pointed at my son and went and waved, and then took off. He was the only one to recognize, like said anything or did anything to him. It's stuff like that just kind of, it's cool to see. Even he's supposed to be this monster heel, and he still makes some time to at least say hi to my son, who was like 5 at the time. But it was just really, really neat to see. But it's just, I don't know, a lot of people like pretend to be this kind of characters and that are really not. It's just it's concerning to me. And I, like you said, being on when I was at a brick and mortar, I always thought of where the last place that I worked, we came in from a side entrance, and the side entrance, to me, it almost felt like I was entering an arena for a wrestling match. And as I would come in, like I would feel like in my head have a theme song going, and I would pass the lunchroom and the kids would be there, and it's like I have to be teacher now. I have to be this character, and you got to be on, and that's something that I try to do now with my online schooling, which I do, and I think I do a good job of it. People think I'm a pretty good talk show host or game show host, I guess, with how I present myself online. But you got to be on, and it's just very sad to see some of those heroes that we knew not be that in real life. It's just very, very sad to see, and I'm kind of happy to see that John Cena kind of is like that, and on and off the camera. And I obviously we see the Make-A-Wish and all that.
We see him with Make-A-Wish, but how much? We always I always assumed it was a show because. You're Make-A-Wish, you're a big, you're there with the WWE. It's a thing,
Right.
like it's a publicity thing. But that wasn't a publicity thing. And even though he didn't stand and talk to everybody, at least he acknowledged the fact that we were waiting to see people.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, that was how many years? I mean, that was like
09.
That was like 10 years ago. Which I get that stuff changes in 10 years, but I'm pretty sure he's still like that. If he sees people, he goes out and says hi to them. And, and I've not met a lot of famous people. I'm really not. But
Hey, Brighton still talks about when we went to NXT, and Drew McIntyre said hi and like shook his hand.
Yeah. And I always think, like it takes nothing to be kind. It really doesn't. Like we did pay at least a portion of your salary by being there. And it was our hard-earned money that, you know, like we went there and
We have a question.
oh, okay. Well, hold on. You know, we went there and we paid that money. We paid at least a portion of their, you know, salary at that point. And, you know, we're buying their t-shirts and we're promoting them. Essentially, we're big walking billboards for the people we love. And so, you know, whatever geekdom or whatever fandom you subscribe to, you are a walking billboard for it when you wear it. And so you're keeping people relevant. Like, I'm sorry, but anybody who wears a Hulkamania t-shirt is keeping him relevant. Anybody who visits a speed shop is keeping him relevant. So at the end of the day, who does he have to answer to except for the court of public opinion? You know, like, you still need to be there for your fans.
And it's interesting that the bushwhacker Luke is one of the people that he said would go to his events. Don't they have in Florida? Isn't next to his speech shop? Isn't there a bushwhacker Luke like training area? Like, isn't there something he owns like right next door to it? So I was just that's weird how one says no and then one does it. It's just very odd.
Well, and that was the beach shop. You know, the person was at the beach shop. It doesn't necessarily mean that was Hulk Hogan speaking, but
right, yeah, that makes sense.
When you're a representative of whatever the brand is, you still have to remember what you're saying and doing. And I think that kind of is a, like, I think that's a commercial thing too. Like, if you go to, like, if we go to a meeting, if I go to a coach's meeting, I don't spend my time speaking ill of my workplace. Like, I can say there's always problems. Like, every school has its own set of issues. So I can't go and badmouth my school if people want to take me seriously.
Right.
So, I mean, those are kind of the same things. Like, it's still your job. And I think that's the saddest part of it all, is that, you know, when you go to things like Access and you spend tons of money to go there and see somebody, if I paid for the time, then I paid for the time. Like, you know, I went and right before WrestleMania, we went and saw the Broken, what was it?
Oh, it was the Broken Hardy's.
We went to the Hardy's barbecue, and that was the first thing that I was like, okay, well, they are gonna be there in some fashion, and they're all, because this was the wrestling mecca for WrestleMania weekend when they were in Orlando. And so, you know, we went and I met both of them. I had my pictures taken with Jeff Hardy because Jeff Hardy was my favorite. But seriously, the guy was so nice. And they had a line of people. So really, they had about 30 seconds to hang out with any of us at any given time, because there's a gigantic line of people. So they're trying to honor everybody. But even Matt Hardy came over and said hi. And I said, I'm super excited. I said, my two right here, this is our next generation of backyard wrestlers. And Jeff Hardy's like, that's awesome. And I'm like, no, it's not. You know, so, and he laughed at me. He's like, oh, you're such a mom. And I'm like, yeah. So, you know, I took my, he's not Canadian. This is what 2 weeks off of like work, not going to work, does to me. For heaven's sake. Anyways, there was no purpose to that. I digress. Whatever.
We have a question in the comments here.
What reveal or event had you
marked out the most in pro wrestling?
Ooh.
He says for him it was when Austin Aries revealed himself as Suicide to Bully Ray. I would have to say the latest Royal Rumble when Edge came back.
Forever? Ever? Or just recently?
Well, he's asking what reveal or event had you mark out the most in pro wrestling. So I'm guessing ever.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so I would say reveal. Gosh. I would say moments. If it was like a moment thing, like obviously the Shawn Michaels with Marty Jannetty in the barbershop, that was kind of a reveal, like his heel turn. Let's see. Gosh. Oh, I was there live for when Shane signed and bought WCW over Vince. So that was a cool reveal. I was actually also there live for the event on Raw where Stardust debuted. I thought that was kind of cool. So those three things that kind of first things that are popping in my head that would be that I probably marked out the most for, I think. Yeah.
They're not really like the Edge reveal. I kind of knew he was coming back because it was a suitcase with the 2 R's and yeah. Anyways, I'm not stupid and I'm a fan and I follow him. So, I also read into things really well. So, that was the big one. But the WrestleMania when the Hardys came back when we were here, because even though I was sitting at home watching and knew they were in Orlando, I was still like, ah! But before that, before I just did that on camera, I look like a complete old idiot.
Well done.
The event that just blew my mind, and I still talk about it today, was when Mick Foley Mankind went through the Hell in a Cell, through the top of the Hell in a Cell, out of the bag of tacks, and they panned up to the face of the Undertaker. Undertaker, right? Yeah. Undertaker. I kind of like get blurred because I just see him falling through it, and I'm like, is he still alive? Like, 'cause he was my favorite, like, of all time. And just the sheer disbelief on so many faces was like, that wasn't scripted and that was not supposed to happen. And then he got up and he did everything that he was gonna, like, he didn't act like he was hurt at all. I'm like, what in the hell?
Right. Very funky. We got to end this, and he didn't want to end it.
I'm not ending it. I'm like, you are crazy, which he's basically told us multiple times. But
I was going to say, speaking of crazy, let's before we hop out of the wrestling world into the film world, let's talk about what's going on with professional wrestling right now in this environment. No fans.
Weird.
It's weird, a little bit.
It's uncharted waters. It's amazing that what everything has to, like, what they have to still do, and have them trying to work, through this with all those empty arenas and try to still convey what they need to. It's been a very interesting last couple of weeks with that. Uh-oh, did they freeze? Oh my good. Am I the only one on here? Uh-oh. They froze. Or are they just so enthralled by my talking?
He's there.
He's there.
There he's back.
There we go.
I'm feeling the dead air.
I was too. So I wonder how that came off. I don't know. You guys froze? I froze? I don't know who froze. Somebody froze.
You froze.
I just want to say, though, that Edge's promo was, like, on point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the WWE did a really good job with the in-ring promo part of it. I mean, the replaying of the old matches, that turned me off a little bit, but of course they had to fill time. But when they did the interviews and the promos, that hit home because it was dead quiet and there was no fan reaction, so they could just speak directly to the camera. So you saw all the pausing, you saw the emotions in their faces, and they weren't yelling their promo, they were talking because there was nobody there to kind of reverberate off the wall with any of the yelling that they would normally do. So it was really kind of personal that way. And seeing Bray Wyatt even come out, he had never done that. He was always at the Funhouse doing those promos there, but him that was probably my favorite one outside of the Edge and the Orton ones that really kind of hit home because he was really physically there as his Bray Wyatt character and not doing something in backstage or pre-taped. And I thought that was really cool too, because you could just see the emotion and hear everything that normally you probably wouldn't with a full crowd.
I enjoyed the 316.
Byron Saxton.
I enjoyed when he came back and he had that whole like everybody's chugging, like he and Becky Lynch are chugging beers in the ring. I enjoyed that because it took me back, but it was so weird for there not to be a fan reaction and not be a, you know, because he is
that didn't happen.
What?
Yeah, exactly. Instead, we got the Byron Saxton rating scale, which was weird. I didn't get that, but whatever.
Well, then he got stunned and a bunch of beer. Like,
you know, but it was so funny because like Steve Austin's like, "You want to come and chug a beer with me?" He's like, "Oh hell yeah!" He takes his headset off. Like, it was nice knowing you, Byron.
Right.
You know, at that moment, I was kind of like, you either have to revoke your fan card or you have to revoke your man card or something, because it was I was like, what's that? Strange, hell yeah. Like, anyways, but yeah, he had Red Sox on too, so yeah. Anyway.
And a pink suit, right?
There's like one person in the whole world that I know of that can pull that off, and that's Booth from Bones. And like that's it. Like that was his signature on the show. That's it. Otherwise, wear a pair of black socks. Like, that's just me. Take my opinion or leave it. I don't care. Yeah.
Now, I know you haven't really seen it, but have you seen what AEW is doing without the crowd?
Bits and pieces. Yeah, the Matt Hardy thing is, I mean, that was cool. I mean, I kind of knew that he was going over to AEW, but that was cool. The way that they set up the ring, the camera, and obviously you saw with the camera angle, the WWE took that and ran with that and put that the camera with the entrance in the background instead of the empty chairs, and so I think, to be honest, they're doing better with the empty arenas than the WWE is. But you know, it's wrestling. It's enjoyable on both sides, and I'm not going to say one's better than the other. I just think, as of right now, the AEW has been far and above better with their handling of the entertainment side of things, with the at least the wrestling part.
They had like they had some of the wrestlers actually in the crowd.
Right.
If you think about it, like, AEW is smaller in general.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of thinking that they have a smaller group of people that are in-house anyways. So then you have a certain amount of people you're going to work with that time, and they're all in-house. And this was before it got bad, before it was the 10 people. Like when I saw the other ones. The last things that I saw was Chris Jericho talking to a drone, which Chris Jericho could talk to a lollipop and people would watch it. So, I mean, he is talking to a drone. I get it, but it's Chris Jericho. Like, you expect a certain kind of something from that. Like, I watched when Omega and who else was in the ring with him? Cody, Omega, and who else was in the ring? And they were all talking about whatever, and seriously, like, two of the guys never even spoke. They were just standing there, and I'm like, got anything to add? Like, why are you there? But overall, far and above, the fact that they are there and they are participating in things, and it is what it is, that stuff is more entertaining right now. I know that a lot of the guys are sick now and they're pulling out of things because they're quarantining in WWE. So
like WrestleMania totally got all screwed. Like there's no rolling.
I'm not even gonna, like, this might be the first WrestleMania I miss, because it's just because of the whole situation with, it's weird, right? I mean, what did they say? Reigns is not doing it. Miz is not doing it. Andrade's not doing it because he's hurt. And Dana Brooke's not doing it, and Bobby Lashley's quarantined. So it's like, why?
Rey Mysterio is quarantined too, I guess.
Yeah, I was like, why do this? Why can't you just give him a break? Do this in June, or July or whatever. I know it's close to SummerSlam, but come on, you guys do pay-per-views like they did a Crown Jewel and then they did an Elimination Chamber like 2 weeks later. So it's like you guys can push things together. You know, I don't know why you have to do it still. It's not going to have the same impact.
Well, and it's not going to have the same impact because none of us can go do any of the stuff that's ever revolved around WWE, like the WrestleMania. And that's, I think, like I'm sad that, you know, we didn't have a chance to buy the meet and greets and stuff because they were gone. But I am in a way glad.
I mean, we had tickets to go to Ring of Honor. We were going to go to Access.
And we were going to go to Access, but I'm kind of glad that we didn't spend the money to get all excited and buy stuff that we ended up having to get our money back and be like, oh, we didn't get to go. So it is kind of sad. Like, you know, I mean, for me, it's just not like I like the pop of the crowd and I like the surprises that come along with WrestleMania and I like all of that. So if we don't have that, there's part of it that's empty. There's like a competitor that's not there. You know, like we're not there. Our voices aren't being heard. You know, they're heard online, but who cares?
Like Drew winning
it's
without a crowd is not going to be the same.
And anybody trying to slaughter Brock Lesnar anywhere without a crowd, it's just not fair. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that I was looking forward to is Bray Wyatt and the Fiend's entrance. That was the one thing because I've been to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium. I've seen it, and I would have died to have seen what the entrance was going to look like because they always make it 10 times what normally their entrances are, and so that's the one thing I was looking to see what that would have been looking like. So hopefully, maybe someone's gonna like reveal the art piece, like what the stadium was gonna look like, what the set was gonna look like, and maybe have some insight as to what we could have seen. That would be cool to maybe have somebody like release those photos or release the pictures of them, just because I know that a lot of people are kind of bummed that we won't see that. And you know, seeing McIntyre beating Lesnar, I mean, yay, with nobody there, no reaction whatsoever. I mean, I think they've even taped some of the matches already. From what I'm reading, it's like, what is? It's like, okay, I get it, I get it, but they should have just delayed it until everything just blew over, and then had the spectacle then, because you know you can't emulate what you see in those stadiums and in the entrances and the fan reactions, like we've said, and with the people feeding off the crowd, because like you said, Nicole, like we are another character. Like they feed off of people that are there, and with there no one there, I mean, they're just going through the motions. And so they've got to. It's even like they got to even try harder because they're the only ones there, and so they have to react differently. They have to react even more. They've got to react and act for us. You know, it's almost like they're filming a TV show, without a crowd. So it's like, I don't know.
There has to be more tables flying and more chairs upheaved, and it's over the top. Because you're right, it is a spectacle. Like it is something that we go and watch and we're excited for. You know, we want the pyro, we want the screams, we want that interaction. We're excited to see it, and if it's not there, like
it's like we're playing a video game.
What's the turn on of it being there? Like for me, if they were actually doing it at Raymond James, I can imagine what it would be like. You know, I could be like, oh yeah, I could see myself sitting there because I've been there. But it's at the Performance Center and things are pre-taped, and
now it's not
nobody's there.
Center, right? It's actually multiple locations. What I've heard.
Yeah, they're filming the boneyard match and like the funhouse match, so that's going to be like on location in a set, and it's going to be like again making a TV show. So it's like they're kind of make it a little different for us and try the best that they can. But I have a feeling no one's going to watch really. I mean, it's not good. I think maybe now that I think about it, I think more people might watch just to see how they do it. But I like that it's 2 days. I do like that it's 2 days, because my problem is it's too long. And it used to be the top guys used to have matches, and the rest of you got to earn your way to it. Now it's, you want a match? Let's throw you in a match. Yeah, so it's like 15 matches, 7 hours. I can't, with a family, with responsibility, I can't commit to watching 7 hours of a pay-per-view, and that's including, or not even including, the pre-show. And the pre-show is even like 2 hours now. It's like, enough. We're tired. You give us 4 hours.
Can we talk about that? There's no takeover this year, really?
Yeah,
The most fun out of the whole week.
Exactly.
General.
Yeah, but we're still getting the matches, but they're not at a takeover. Which again, I don't see what that's. It's the same issue. It's going to be with an empty stadium or empty arena, no matter what. So no matter if you put it as a pay-per-view or not, it's going to happen with an empty arena. So again, they're stuck.
For us, it's a Sunday night, and most of the time, whatever's happening, and the TV is loud, and so whatever's happening in the house, depending on whether the kids are watching it with us or the kids are in the other room, or I'm in the kitchen. Like, our house is so small, like, that I can hear everything that's going on. So I could sit in my chair and I could be grading papers like I normally am on a Sunday night, or I could be writing lesson plans, or whatever in front of the TV. I'm not sitting there like consuming it with everything, with nothing in front of me, because I rarely do that in general. But like, there's always something going on in my house. So I'm momming while I'm doing everything, and I'm doing all the other stuff that has to be done. So it doesn't matter that it's on. Like, the only person that ever sits and actually watches the whole thing is Brian. And that's because he's Brian. But, the kids are in and out. They watch what they want to watch, and then they go and watch what they want to watch in the other room. And then I, get up and do dishes or clean the table off or whatever. I'm doing something, because I can't just sit there.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, overall, I think that it's like, well, like, want to watch that match, and I'm off doing whatever. So 7 hours of wrestling, like, a lot of times it's just on for the noise. Like, I can hear what they're saying. It's not like I'm actually sitting there watching it.
Yeah, like last. Whoa.
I was gonna say the Hall of Fame is gonna be in front of SummerSlam, is what they're saying.
Oh, is that what they're gonna do? That's better, I guess. Yeah, at least they can do it. But I was gonna say something I completely forgot now that I lost the tray. Yeah.
Well, the Hall of Fame be in front of something else, though, because there should be a pomp and circumstance for that.
Oh, absolutely. No,
it's like a graduation, you know.
Yeah. Well, like I was going to say with what you were saying, that last year's WrestleMania, I was following matches on. Like, the only matches I really cared about last year was the Daniel Bryan Kofi Kingston match. So I followed on Twitter until that match came on. Then I put on WrestleMania, and then I watched the rest of it from that point forward. And so again, I didn't watch the 7 hours of it. I just watched at least 2 hours. I think I caught up the next day at the replay, because I could commit to it, because I had my phone next to my computer, and as I'm like working, I would like kind of watch it at the same time as I was working on that Monday, and caught the rest of it. But it's like I can't like on the weekends. That's the time for me to be home, be cleaning, be spending time with my kids and stuff, and it's just I couldn't commit to 7 hours. Like, when it used to be 3, sure. 7, no, I can't do it. It's really hard now. And now that it's 2 days, I kind of like that. But again, it's in front of nobody, and it's pre-taped, and I bet there's going to be it's going to be edited a lot, and it's going to be like they just put a movie together, and then there's a lot of it'll be like
I do think what you're saying, though, is I think that a lot of people are going to be like, okay, well, it's 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So they might notice that there's an upswing in the amount of people that watch, because it's 2 days, and it's not a big, huge chunk of time. Like, I know that you guys do multiple other things. And so, like, Sunday night at my house is, dinner, we watch TV with the kids and finish up whatever homework and pack stuff up, and then we're in bed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, for us, Sunday night with WrestleMania on, it just means the kids stay up a little later, which is hell for me on Monday morning. But they're watching what they want to watch. They're playing around, they're having a good time, they're, wrestling in the front room, whatever. So they're doing whatever they want to do. And we are kind of watching it as a family, but then we're only watching certain things that we're watching together.
Sure.
And 7 hours is a long time. But if it was like, here's this part of the day and then this part, like they kind of split up the Rumble, because the men's Rumble was separate from the women's Rumble. And so there was kind of like, they did kind of compete for time, but at least they were involved. But it, I think it's just nice to have it over 2 days, like being able to watch it and enjoy this section and watch it and enjoy this section. And Terry says, Mania over 2 days is very doable. 7 hours watching from Ireland is crazy. Starting 11 p.m. over at 6 a.m. No, thank you. So, I mean, even if you think about it, anybody who watched Crown Jewel here, not on the, watch it live on the network.
Yeah, it comes on like at 1 o'clock.
It's on at 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay, fine if
Not
you're
in the
like,
morning.
or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't watch it.
But yeah.
I was working.
Right.
So, I understand that some people are watching the replay or whatever, and they can stop it and do whatever. But over a course of 2 days, watching anything live would be easier. Now, I want people there.
Right.
Like, I mean, I get that the excitement that comes along with it in April, but like I'm that girl who wants the pop. Like if the pop didn't happen when the Hardys came back last year, 3 years ago, if that didn't happen, and if the pop didn't happen when Edge came out at Royal Rumble, I would have felt empty.
Yeah.
Like I literally, when Edge came out, because there is a picture of me, like in 1990, whatever, 90, 99, 90, 90 something. And I'm holding this huge sign that I took like 8 days to color when I went to a pay-per-view that had Edge all over it. And it was the flames and the stuff on the side of his pants. I'm really an Edge fan. But like I sat there and I watched him come out and I smiled so big. And then when they panned to his face and I cried a little because it was like, this is 9 years. And it was a Royal Rumble, pop. It wasn't a WrestleMania pop. No. You cannot. No. Because I said no. I know I'm the meanest. But like if it hadn't been a pop like that, like I was like, he would have been gypped.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, anybody who's gonna make their like grand reappearance at WrestleMania is gonna get screwed.
Yeah, I doubt
out of that pop.
It'd be interesting.
Leave that alone.
So now let's leave the wrestling world.
We've
right
unleashed the children now. I don't know what happened. Go watch something.
Watching. Let's talk about movies and TV.
Hey, whoa, food.
Oh, food. Yeah. So, what do you think about like theaters closing and pretty much Hollywood? I mean, film and TV shutting down.
Well, you kind of hit me home there. I have a part-time job at a movie theater. It's Cinemark, and we're jobless right now. I picked up a job there in November and still work there. But it's kind of a bummer across the board. I miss it, and I really appreciate the companies coming out and putting their movies on VOD and digital early. But that it just comes with the territory with everything, with the virus and being being cautious as possible with that. I just seeing when we first heard about the virus, this is what I did when I'm an usher there. So what I did is when I first started hearing about the virus, spreading, I would actually wear gloves, working at the ticket stand and cleaning and picking up trash of people that left trash all over the place, and people thought I was weird doing that, and I'm like, well, I don't want to risk anything. People leave weird things once they're done in the theater. And so when they saw me doing that, some of the ushers were like, you know, that's not a bad idea. And eventually everyone started wearing gloves. And then 2 weeks later, we're done. We're out. And I completely get it. But it's still kind of it's a bummer that we're going to be out for this long. We haven't heard when we're coming back, but we're slowly but surely everybody is kind of in the same boat now, kind of sitting and waiting. And
No, the long ones. The long ones. Spaghetti noodles. Apparently, we need a home ec class in our homeschooling schedule.
Go for it. Add that in there. Mine are having pancakes and eggs, and we're having breakfast for dinner. So I can smell that, and I'm very, very much looking forward to that whenever that comes.
We did that we did this week sometime. I can't remember when, but I think it's been all around difficult for everybody because that's our lives.
Yeah.
So I was talking to you cannot have these and you cannot have the one with the arrow. Okay. There's one in here the arrow.
I was just gonna say that, you know, with the movie industry itself, I think Campia has said that he heard Hollywood is going to be out like $17 billion or something like that.
Yeah, that's close to that. Yeah. It's just you gotta I mean, they can survive. I mean, they will take that hit, but I know that they can survive. And with the home video sales and streaming and people buying Netflix, people buying Hulu, people getting Disney Plus. I mean, they are still making the money, but I'm not sure how many people have purchased too many of the VODs for the newest movies that have come out. I know that Trolls is coming out soon. Next week.
That's supposed to be coming out as a rental, but I think I think they're going to change it because at the time that Universal announced that, theaters were still open.
Right.
So I have a feeling Universal probably this week is going to change. What is it? Emma, Trolls, The Hunt, and Invisible Man from rental to buy.
Man, the Invisible Man is so good. But that's the thing too. Even with wrestling, you want to be in the theater when you see those jump scares. And you have those jump scares. You have the music swelling. You hear people at the edge of their seat. You have the reactions of the crowd. I mean, granted, you're there with your friends too at the house or whoever you're in the house with, but you're not by yourself. Really, unless some people might be. But
there's a difference with the big screen and the extra sound. You know, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, so like the big tentpole films, they won't be released digitally. That's why they pulled those and moved them.
Yeah.
The smaller films, I think we'll see available on digital.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of the kids' movies will be on digital really quickly because they're, you know, it's a way to keep us busy as far as family is concerned. The change to our lives, like I've seen a lot of people post about how, you know, we got to consider, you know, rushing back to our normal everyday and like what's important enough to rush back to. You know, like if anything, this has taught us to be a little bit more careful. It's taught us to be a little bit more flexible. And it's taught us to enjoy the time we have with our loved ones. And by being at home, like I'm the person that needs to go away from my children to maintain a healthy momdom.
We'll see why.
You've met my children, so yeah. Like for me, I really I like going to other places, but like I went to the center, like the tutoring center that I tutor at was still open up until last Saturday. So the 21st. So the 21st was the last day open. They actually closed the center. They put us all online. So we're tutoring online and we're schooling online. And so now the only contact with children I have is my own, which we'll see if I make it out alive. But considering the fact that I'm outnumbered, I am greatly outnumbered. Everyone is got testosterone pulsing through their veins in this house.
So then maybe we should start with this one. Last night you watched Birds of Prey.
I watched Birds of Prey. So I think that we all have to come to terms with what we miss and find a way to harness how to put it back in our lives when it is available to us again, but how to do things a little bit more slowly, have a little bit more enjoyable. Like I say that about the kids, but I love being home with them. I do. And, I even enjoy some of the homeschooling stuff. Like we are not a fan of sitting with like workbooks and stuff, but I put a Cincinnati Zoo video on and I said, Brighton, write down 10 things you didn't know about hippos that you know about hippos now. And the kid got into it and he was like, can I do that again? And I'm like, heck yes. A friend of mine was so excited that she saw him doing it online. She sent me a video that he's going to watch tonight from her job where she's a zookeeper at one of the zoos. I don't know if it's Cincinnati or if it's Toledo, but I know she's in Ohio. And I'm like, anything that helps my kid understand what he wants to do in the future. So I think, we're allowed to give them those tools now. Let's decide which ones we keep and which ones stop being part of our everyday.
Right.
My soapbox for the day. You want to start with Birds of Prey? Birds of Prey was fun.
Birds of Prey.
So I'm all about girl power.
It wasn't as bad as everyone said
it wasn't as bad. I love Margot Robbie, and I love Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. There's a little to be said about the supporting characters. They were a little lackluster. I expected a better Huntress. I didn't get it. I don't know how the cop comes into it all. Never read the comic books. So I'm just going to put that out there that I never read the Birds of Prey comic books. So I don't know.
This is very much different.
So that was huge. Like,
it's too different.
But I enjoy Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. So I will watch that. But it was just, I expected a better Huntress and I didn't get it. And I was very upset. Like I really was. I was looking back at the Birds of Prey, like TV show from like,
that's what the Birds of Prey comes
from the 90s, right? Where Huntress was a badass, and I was expecting that, and I didn't get.
Nope.
I got a lot of sniveling teenagers, is what I got, and I just. It wasn't enjoyable, other than the scenes where she was talking about getting rid of the Joker and being her own self, and that really was.
That was like the cartoon.
It was really reminiscent of the new Harley Quinn cartoon, which I love. And
season 2 comes out soon.
Bad Mom of the Year is the kids also love it. They really love that cartoon.
Yeah.
Now, disclaimer, filter disclaimer is that if they're going to learn any of those words, they've already learned them from me. So, what did you do?
But like a lot of the jokes they don't get. I mean, Oliver doesn't really pay attention. Brighton likes the Harley Quinn cartoon, but like he thinks it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
But in everybody's defense, like they don't understand any of the gratuitous sex jokes or anything like that, so they don't get any of that. But like where she just like uses the F word, he's like, "Mom, you sound like Harley Quinn," and I'm like, "Oh my god." So yes, see. Brick and mortar school. This is why I need to go back to work because I'm a better mom. Not that I swear less, but anyways.
So let's see. We got that one.
It's me.
And then the next theater movie we saw The Way Back with Ben Affleck.
Yeah, that's on my list.
Watch it. It was amazing. But like I said, like anything, I posted this when I posted it. It brought up the wrong way back when I posted on Facebook.
Yeah, the way back.
Both of the movies that are titled The Way Back were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But anything Ben Affleck does where he's in a dramatic role is amazing. Like he can basically do no wrong.
I'll be surprised if he's not nominated for a Best Actor.
Yeah. Well, yeah. With everything being pushed, everything's going to be back-ended towards the end of the end of the year with the fall. So you could probably see, I wouldn't mind seeing it. That's one on my list I need to see. I know that there's there's a language barrier. Like there's some language in it. When doing theater checks, I'd come in and do it and see a couple minutes of it. It was pretty intense with a couple scenes that I saw, but I need to definitely go in and see the whole thing. And I'm glad you guys would let me kind of use your movies anywhere so I can take a look at it. I appreciate that. So I can get a different movie here and there to keep it.
I mean, like, without giving away too much, I mean, you can pretty much tell what the movie's about, but like the way he portrayed the I won't say why he started drinking, but what causes him to drink. It's a very sad story.
I did see the scene in the car taking a kid home, and he was talking to him about that. I think I saw that part and why he was. That's the only scene I saw because I was doing theater checks before the theater closed, so I can see the whole thing eventually.
But see, the way the story is written is more talking about this is the background stuff that happened, and this is where he's at now.
Okay.
And so the storytelling of it was a little slow.
Okay.
But the way things were revealed was powerful because it kind of let you know that he doesn't seem to care about anything up until this point where he's like, so now you're going to take it all away from me. And that's when he decides that that was his way back. Like that was how he was going to get through it. And in the story being told that way, I really think it definitely did the film a favor. But I also think it showcased him as the main character. Okay. Like there weren't any other main characters really. I think everybody else was a supporting role in pushing him in whatever direction he needed to go, which was kind of interesting to watch.
Right. And the film was directed by Gavin Hood, who did Miracle.
Yeah.
I mean, Kurt Russell, that was one of Kurt Russell. I think that was like his comeback movie. Like Kurt Russell was away for a little bit, and then he came and did Miracle. But yeah, I highly recommend The Way Back. I mean, we have Bloodshot on our list.
Yeah, I'm torn because when we had a comic book shop when I was growing up near my house, there was an auction there, and I actually bought the first ever issue of Bloodshot. So I had the first 4 like ever, and seeing what they did they watered it down so much, and the way that Vin Diesel, if he's not in a Fast and Furious movie, he's got the charisma of like a lead brick. And he doesn't, to me, he's just, if it was a different actor, I saw somebody saying Luke Evans could have been better as Bloodshot. Because I guess I don't know, but
he played Gaston in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, he's done some other stuff too. But yeah.
Okay, but having said that, like I don't know enough about Bloodshot to say whether or not. So, I mean, I think I just like it for the action quality of the movie, but sure. I think anytime that they take a really strong, almost excessively violent comic book or character.
Yeah, the difference here is the comic book, he was a gangster.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't like
he wasn't in the movie. He's military soldier that was killed. In the comic, he was a gangster that was killed.
Yeah. So the past, like the who you are in your previous life is who you. So they try to make him a good guy.
Yeah, and kind of the same thing with too. Like with you saying all the characters weren't as strong and weren't and they were changed and they weren't what you thought. It's the same thing with Bloodshot. It's like I'll watch Birds of Prey. I haven't seen it yet, but I'll watch it, knowing I guess in the back of my head that it maybe because the Cassandra Cain character in the movie is nowhere near what it is in the comics, and that's what kills me. And the same thing with what Nicole. But yeah, to me, Bloodshot would be one of those. If it's on, it's on. I'll put it on if no one else is home. But obviously, they're going to be here, so I don't know. I'm going to see it.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of like with Birds of Prey, like Huntress, the real Huntress that I mean, there's been different characters, but the one that I think of the most is the daughter of Batman.
Yep.
And then with Cassandra Cain, she was Batgirl at one time.
She eventually turns into Batgirl. Yeah.
Well, and even with Black Canary, so your mother, and I'm like,
well, that was kind of
okay,
true in the comic. Like her mom had the same powers.
Yeah, but they talked more about her mother
Mm-hmm.
to push her to be this person, and she did it once. Like,
right.
Okay, superhero, whatever. You
yeah,
know, like
that's why I'm glad I have the DVDs of the first whatever season of the Birds of Prey from the early 90s or mid 90s, because I watched that religiously. I was heartbroken when they canceled it, and I wanted to keep it going because it was really, really well done. And I have a feeling if they brought it back now, I think with the whole Arrowverse, it might actually be accepted again if they tried it again. I don't know.
I think the comic book world is a fickle bunch, though. Like they're very picky about their characters.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I do.
Yeah.
I get it. But
when you have a Cassandra Cain character who's a mute that doesn't speak, and in the entire movie she's talking the whole time, like, this isn't you. What are you doing?
Well, and I think like the source material is important. Like I think if you're carrying a character over to anything, it's important to the people to give them a little bit of fan service. Like it is important. And maybe, just to reminiscing, I guess, is that, like Superman has been, oh, see, there he is. Oh. So Mike, I just sat there and called you like Brian like 25 times, just letting you know at the beginning of the video. So, but yes, it was seriously awesome. But, what was I saying?
You were talking about Superman.
Oh, so when we talk about Superman and the incarnations of Superman throughout the years and how he got darker, as Henry Cavill walked in and, portrayed this much different Superman. I think like everybody has their Superman, like, whether it be the very early incarnations of him or TV incarnations of him or Christopher Reeve or whatever, whatever it was. I think there's, in all of those situations, there was a little bit of that persona that each character or each person, each actor took in and kind of like portrayed. Because we always say, well, this person was a better Batman and this one was a better Bruce Wayne and this one was a better this and this one was better this. Whatever it is, we all do that, like when they have dual personas. But I think like for me, because I grew up in the 90s and because I was a TV watcher and not necessarily a movie goer at that point in time, because I was 15 and didn't know how to drive and had no freedom in Podunk where I lived, that, Dean Cain became my Superman. And so any incarnation after that is difficult to see because they're not what you're accustomed to. So anytime somebody donned the tights and the cape, they took on another facet of the character. And so when you have a darker facet like Henry Cavill played, I'm not saying that he was bad for the role. Like I think he played a good Superman.
Who got the short end of the stick was Brandon Rawls. I'd like to see him.
He got
I want to see him to do.
I think he was incredible. Like here I go, I'm doing it too. He was a really good Clark Kent. I liked him as Clark Kent. But I think that Henry Cavill was a good Superman. I'm not saying it was a bad Superman. I'm just saying that if you're going to do a film, it needs to be little bit of fan service, a little bit of what we harness as that person, and like I think it's hard to reinvent somebody afterwards. So Don Campion was talking about how he didn't like the movie because Superman would never do what he did in the movie.
Well, Man of Steel, he loves Man of Steel.
But it's a good point that Superman would never choose. Superman would never do that. But you know, I think we have to have a little bit of fan service, and we have to have a little bit of, you know, acknowledging the fact that we're not going to love everything. Like I love Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. Do I love everything that she's been in? No, I didn't like Suicide Squad, and I didn't like Birds of Prey, except for when she was on screen.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there are very few people that could pull it off. I think Kaylee Cuoco, when she voices Harley Quinn in the cartoon, is really good. And Margot Robbie is really good. And I think we need to see, I don't know, do a fan-made movie where we just piece people in.
Yeah.
You know, these are the people I want to see doing these things, because there hasn't been any one person that's embodied the whole movie when they all come together. You know, like there's been lots of singular people playing the character that you liked, but when they bring them all together, it's like, that's disappointing. The water's boiling.
Yeah.
So let's see. So what else is on your
What's
your
on the watch list?
Yeah, your watch list.
Oh, geez. Let's take a look. Well, I know Onward is going to be definitely on my list when that eventually drops. I'm going to wait till it drops on Disney Plus, but I'll definitely check that out. It's just I'm kind of I'll just focus on that one because what's his name?
Did you see Frozen 2 already?
Oh, yes, I did see Frozen 2. Frozen 2 we saw in theaters, and here's a funny story. My kids did not want to go, so I just went with my wife. It was just my wife and I. My kids did not want to see it. One eventually did see it with a friend, and then the other one was like, I wish I would have seen it with you guys, because she saw it on her phone and wished she would have gone. But oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Yeah. Oh gosh.
Tom Holland?
Thank you, Tom Holland. Yeah, because Tom Holland has been in 2 failures, quote unquote. Well, one was a failure, but when one was because of the the whole virus thing. But he was in Spies in Disguise and Onward, and both obviously did not do well in theaters because of one reason or the other. And I just kind of feel bad for him because he's a great actor, and he just these 2 animated films he's been in did poorly. For again one reason or the other. No one went to see Spies in Disguise for whatever reason, even though it was really good. And Onward because
Will Smith is in that one, right?
yeah, yeah, he was really good at it.
In defense, Spies in Disguise got no marketing.
No, it didn't.
Like, I think I saw two places where it was even mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw it. I saw it on Disney Channel, and for some reason it was advertised on Disney Channel, and I'm like, it's not a Disney thing. It's like I think it was DreamWorks, and I'm like, I don't know why Disney's trying to now promote it, but then Onward has Tom Holland, and so obviously that's probably why they hit the cross promotion there. But
and Chris Pratt, of course.
Chris Pratt, yeah, and that's probably the one I'm waiting to see is that one because I am a huge Pixar. I mean, obviously I've got the tattoo of the Pixar and Disney and stuff over here. But yeah, so that's like my thing with them. So
and did you see Disney just dropped Call of the Wild on digital?
I did not, and hopefully they've done better with the CGI dog. And I don't think a lot of people went to see that either. I know that when the theater was open, I saw a lot of the same age, 60, 50, 60, 70-year-olds going to see Call of the Wild because of Harrison Ford. But the first thing when my kids were like seeing the previews for it, they're like, that dog's CGI. Immediately.
But I've heard a lot of people said it's a good movie.
Yeah, I have too. Which is a lot of people just the one thing that turned them off was the CGI dog. Yeah, the dog looked too fake.
But see the dog, but see the story is timeless. Like you take a story written by Jack London in 1890 or whatever it was. I mean, it is a timeless story of survival and friendship. What do you want? You want to stand in and go wild? Ah!
It's your buddy.
Yep, there he is.
Yes, Paul of the Wild, Dingo.
That's funny. You call it all the while he shows up. That's funny. The dog shows up.
He did. He's barking at me. I'm like, you got some thoughts?
That's funny. But yeah, I'm probably gonna check that one out too, just because, just one of those.
Well, because it's that story. I mean, every time that it's come out, I think I've watched it.
It was either that or White Fang was growing up. That was the thing. Either read that or White Fang. It's like, which one are you reading this year, guy?
I read both.
Or Iron Will.
Oh
Right.
yeah, Iron Will, and Hatchet was similar, not the same, but Hatchet.
Yeah.
But Dog Song by Gary Paulson was.
Gary Paulson, yeah.
But like, I was excited about Onward, but I always told Brian, like, I have this thing that for whatever reason,
Because it's about a dad.
one tiny little thing that I can put into perspective about my life, and I become a sniveling, snot yielding sack of sobbing when I go to movies like that. And so with this one being he's looking for his dad and they only find half of him, that just I was like, we can't go see the movie. Like, we cannot go to a public place and watch this movie. Because I mean, we can, but you're not going to get home for like an hour because I'm not going to be able to see, because I'm going to be, it's just going to be, it's ugly. It'll be ugly. And so I said, well, the good thing is like The Way Back and all these other movies that were coming out is like, well, at least I can ugly cry in the privacy of my own home.
There you go.
You know, like, but I didn't cry for the Way Back, and I was surprised because it involves what it involves. But like, I just know that I would turn myself into it would be bad. I would sob, and I would be the sad, sorry, sack sitting in the movie theater. And my kids even now are like, Mom, why are you crying? It's not that. I'm like, just life, okay?
Yep.
Like, back off. But it, you know, I know that it's gonna make me cry. I know but the whole like magical realm of everything, and the unicorns and the trolls
eating
and
out of the trash can.
I'm just super excited about that. Like, we needed a fairy fantasy land, you know, plopped in the center of suburbia kind of thing. And you know, and I love Chris Pratt. I mean, like, my kid is named after one of his characters. Like, I don't know how.
Yeah, we've been a fan of Chris Pratt since he was on Everwood.
Oh wow, yeah.
Right.
Because he was,
No, not Brighton Albright. Brighton Albright was one of my kids. Brighton
Abbott.
Brighton Abbott. Okay, Brighton Albright was a student that I taught this year. And I said, dude, you have the same name as my kid. And he was like, I do. A kid that I totally didn't hate that happened to have the same name as my kid. And I didn't think that he was horrible, although the teacher across the hall did.
Is it your dinner time?
Are they ringing the bell?
My daughter is showing me her nails that she just did. They look good.
Got to do something to pass the time.
Oh wow, it's good.
I'll be painting mine later.
Cool. All right, I'll be down in a minute. Yeah, it is close to dinner time, so I must end this shortly. So like 5 more minutes or so. I know.
I got a video chat with my mom here in a little bit, so we're gonna wrap it up. But anything else that we need to check out? Anything else that we need to talk about?
Everybody needs to wash their hands.
20 seconds.
20 seconds. Happy birthday twice, or whatever song you want.
The Golden Girls theme song. I sing the Golden Girls theme song.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I have to talk about this because it just popped in my mind. When Oliver washes his hand, he sings. We've been watching the new Blues Clues.
Okay.
I actually do love this new host, Josh.
Yeah, I'm a Blues Clues fan. So.
I may have to check that out. My kids are maybe a little older for that, but I might as well, see. I was
15 and watching it with my cousins. So
the new host is from Broadway.
Okay.
He's 29, Filipino.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, I saw a clip of one where he like got on the phone and had both the former hosts on, and that like got me. And I wasn't really a Blues Clues fan, but it's like one wanted to always be a detective, and he was, and the other one was like a teacher, and he wanted to be a teacher, and he was something like that. But it was like really cool to see both of them on the phone talking to him about how to do what they did, and I was like, oh. So it kind of got me a little bit, even though I didn't really watch it too much. But I did watch it with both hosts before, so it was pretty cool to see.
I've never minded it being on. Like I watched it with Steve with my cousin. I watched with Steve with my cousins a long time ago, and then only watched a handful of episodes with Joe. But that's because nobody, I mean, whatever was on, like neither one of the kids were really old enough. Like, and even then, it was the end of Shane's time watching Nickelodeon. Like, it wasn't. It was all kind of ill-timed. But like, Oliver loves this show. Loves it. Sings Blues Clues when he's watching this cat. So that's a testament to the show, I guess. Why are you guys making so much noise now?
But we really appreciate you joining us this time.
Yeah, I miss doing this, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, so I'm glad that you guys found the time.
Okay, I'm gonna say my goodbye so I can.
We'll see you.
All right, Paul. So I'd like to do this again with you whenever you have a free time.
What do you think? No, we're just. Well, I do teach at an online school already. So we're kind of at a business as usual model. So it's one of those things where it's like I'm going to be working. So anybody that's a teacher that has to go to the online environment because of our situation, if you need to bounce some ideas off of me, you guys could just find me anywhere you want, really. I mean, you've seen my name scrolled throughout this, so if you want to just reach out and ask questions on how to turn what you did in the brick and mortar to something online, I might be able to help you out, get you a platform, and go from there. Because I've done it for 10 years, and I'm still but it is what it is. And so if you guys are needing any help with that, and it's not just you, it's anybody watching.
Okay. Before I let you go, I'm going to ask you this.
Yeah.
For everyone, since we're under quarantine, give me 2 movies that you recommend people watch. It can be old movies, new movies.
Okay. Wow, your kids are loud.
Hey, guys. All right.
See?
Hi, Nicole. Okay, so I would say I'm going to give my top 2. And my actual top 2 have changed in the last couple of weeks. I had to dog sit my mom's dog. My mom took my daughter to Disney to visit my brother who works down there, and this was in February. And so my first recommendation, if anyone's not seen it, is The Nice Guys. It is a phenomenal. This is my number 2. It was
The Nice Guys with Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling.
Oh my gosh! Like I literally during it was tweeting, "I may have a new favorite movie. Be right back." It was unbelievable. The humor in it. I caught a lot of old time humor from like Abbott and Costello, from Ryan Gosling's character, and it just went beat for beat. It was phenomenal. The humor didn't overpower the action, the comedy, everything. So okay, and so my other one I want to recommend is my favorite movie of all time, and that's Out of Sight from 1998 with George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez. That's a book from Elmore Leonard.
I love Out of Sight.
Yes, it is my favorite movie of all time, and that's when I was like, I don't know if The Nice Guys was gonna overtake it or not. But ironically enough, Out of Sight was on right after The Nice Guys on Stars, I believe. So I was like, oh, cool. So I'll watch that and I'll compare. And I'm like, nope, Out of Sight's perfect. It's my favorite movie. It's got good comedy, good action, good drama. It's got everything in it. And so if you want to check out Jennifer Lopez before she honestly ruined her career with music and just acting, she's really good in it. And I really wish that that movie got more recognition awards-wise. Adapted screenplay, I think it was the only thing that it was nominated for. I think it was vastly underrated. So I definitely have you guys check out Out of Sight and The Nice Guys. Those are my 2 recommendations.
Oh man, those are great films. Yeah, and if I was to recommend a couple films, one of the probably greatest sci-fi horror movies ever, Event Horizon.
I saw that in the theater. I love that movie. That's great.
Man, it's got great cast from top to bottom, and just the, I mean, that movie was ahead of its time, I think. And if you're looking for something a little bit different from Ryan Reynolds, definitely Maybe, I think is what it's called.
Was that the one with the kid in it?
Yeah.
Yep, I saw that one too. Yeah. Yep. That's good.
Yeah.
Those are 2 good ones.
What would two movies that you would recommend?
Do I have a new movie?
Anything.
Okay. Jeez. I'm seriously in the kitchen thinking about it the whole time, and I still don't have an answer.
Well, you can go to your favorite movie, which is 10 Things I Hate About You.
Okay, well.
Did you just say no? Did you say that 10 Things I Hate About You? That's my wife's favorite.
It is my favorite movie of all time. So
I love
if you haven't seen it, it's a blast from the past. It's a whole lot of 90s teenage fun. And I wanted so badly when we talked about sonnets with my 8th graders to play the thing, but to play the rap that the teacher does, and then to play the ending. But I think I'd be dating myself a little bit. But that is my all-time favorite movie. Nobody's talking to you. But so TV shows, because now this is like it's as loud as the kids. So Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
You were talking about
Hulu.
Yeah.
It's on Hulu. It is so good. I think there's been how many episodes? 6? 6 or 7 episodes, and I think I have sang along and cried to at least. Well, I've sang along to all of them, but I've cried during at least 2. And yeah, it has this whole dad dynamic, which makes me cry. So that's not anything to be surprised about. But there's that whole like your best friend is your love interest, but you don't want to screw it up kind of thing. Okay. And so that's the beauty of it. But she's very much. I see a lot of myself in her, so I identify with her pretty well. But that show, check out that show on Hulu, and then definitely 10 Things I Hate About You, because it's my favorite movie of all time.
And a bonus?
Bonus is if you haven't seen The Thing with Kurt Russell, because up until when did we watch it? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
So up until 2 weeks ago, I'd never watched the whole movie. And so I love Kurt Russell. Amazing. He's underrated. He's amazing. But this movie was actually really good. And even though it's hilarious to watch the effects now, we're not in the 80s. So it's all like this amazing, movie magic that somebody created. Mm-hmm. But if you don't mind the ending.
I have frozen. They have frozen. Somebody has frozen. At the moment, we are both frozen. It should be our standing by photo here. There
we go. To watch that movie stuff happening over again. Am I dying? Did I?
You froze. I froze.
Somebody froze. Okay. So.
What was your bonus? And my bonus is if you have Netflix, Lucifer.
Wow. All right. Well, I'll give you my bonus. I have been binging through Star Wars Rebels, and actually sitting there with my son watching and showing him how Rebels connects to the trilogy, the original trilogy, and for the other canon, which is kind of cool to see. And as things were going on, he'd be like, "Oh, what? Wait a minute!" And then he'd catch on. So I think it's really cool to just kind of do that. And I'm almost through season 4, and I think there's only 4 seasons. So I know that they're coming out with a 5th eventually, but I'm on like season 4, episode 2. So I'm getting there. Yeah. I think there's 20 episodes or 23 episodes in that.
Are you guys watching the new Clone Wars on Disney Plus?
That's next. You can see my you can see where I go. I go straight to the animation and go and do Onward. And I'm I'm all about Pixar, all about animation. So it's like that's where I go first. So I'm definitely doing Clone Wars. I have to finish and revisit the last season of the original first to get into the new. So got to do that.
Okay.
And,
so the next time that we have you on, we have to talk about Rosario Dawson, who's a goddess, being cast as Osaka.
Really?
that would be something that we could definitely talk about. And I'll just give you my quick. I'm happy. Yes. See that? Yes.
I am not sitting in on that show.
Hey, you say she's a goddess too.
Yes, but see, I'm a girl, and that's maybe socially acceptable in some places.
All right, Paul. So where can people find you on social media?
Well, you can find me on social media on Facebook at obviously Paul Wulff, and make sure if you check the spelling, it's WULFF for the last name. Twitter, I'm at the Mr. Wulff 12, and I have a YouTube channel as well. Just find me there. I do a lot of math videos and some other fun videos that I've done for the Schmodown and the Schmodown Rundown before as well. So take a look there and just say hi. Drop me a line.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on here. And I just want to let everybody know that tomorrow we'll have James Oster from JoeBlow.com. So that'll be fun. Until tomorrow, guys. Stay safe.
See ya.